This year has been just sucky. It just has. 2020 has ruined a lot of things. We've lost so many people. We've gone through tragedy. We've gone through historical events. But today, we need to brighten up just a little bit and talk about my top 10 favorite movies of 2020. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and say this. This list was hard / easy to make every other year. Because every other year I have 20s. But 2020 just didn't want to give me 20 movies to be my favorite. So this year we're going back to the original classic, original top 10 best movies like everyone else. So with this list, like I said, it was kind of hard because I didn't see like over 100 movies this year. I don't even think I saw 100 brand new movies this year. So it's gonna be a little tough putting it together. But when I got the 10 movies together, I said, these are my top 10. I just gotta put them in order. And to put them in order, it wasn't that tough. So for this year, there's gonna be movies on this list that are Oscar winners, that aren't the best picture winners. The movies are gonna be historical advancements in film history. No, there's gonna be movies in here you disagree with, and that is okay. Comment below and let me know your list. I want to know your list. But with my list, it's my opinion. It is okay to be different. With that being said though, I actually have not seen all the Oscar movies. There is a bunch of screeners I personally did not receive that aren't coming out until January or February that I won't be able to review till then. So if there's a movie on here that that hasn't been on the list, I probably haven't seen it. For example, One Night in Miami, I haven't seen it. I wanted to see it. Didn't get to see it. So with all that being said, I do have some honorable mentions. Yes, I do have some honorable mentions. 5 movies that were really good that almost made the list. And with number 5, we're going with Bad Boys for Life. It's that kind of year where that movie is on my honorable mentions. I'm thinking of ending things. A movie that is truly just original, different, and weird that stuck with me. Number 3, Borat 2. It's crazy that this movie is going to get nominated for some Oscars. It really is. It's a funny movie, but wow. Number 2 is going to be Sonic. Because why not? Sonic was a blast, and for this year, I had a blast with this movie, especially toward this year. And the one movie that almost made the list, Bad Education. Now, the only reason this movie's not making the list, if you Google this movie, it pops up 2019, which just bugs me. Because deep down, the movie I saw came out in 2020, but I think it was at a festival in 2019, so I can't count it. Even though a lot of you were like, probably, you could definitely count that. Well, if it was, I would say this. The original spot, it was number 5. So there you go. But anyways, that is it for my honorable mentions. And now, let us get into the top 10 best movies of 2020 from my opinion. Number 10. Coming in 10th place is a movie that came all the way back out in January, which I did get to see in theaters. Number 10 is Guy Ritchie's The Gentleman. This movie stars Matthew McConaughey and Colin Farrell and has an all-star cast with an all-star dialogue written by the one and only Guy Ritchie. This movie was fun, the dialogue was slick, the acting was superb, especially from Charlie Hunnam. Guy Ritchie's direction just reminded me of Snatch. This movie was fresh, original. It didn't make a ton of money at box office. A lot of you probably don't even remember this movie because it came back out in January. But if you ever get to watch it, it's a good time, especially if you're a fan of Snatch. Number 9. In 9th place is a little movie that came out on Hulu that a lot of people are going to be in their top 3, maybe even favorite movie of the year. But for my 9th spot will be the underrated comedy Palm Springs. This movie was awesome. Andy Samberg is amazing in this movie. Christine Milioti, if I screwed the name, sorry, is a star that is born from this movie. This movie was so original. It was so fresh. The chemistry between these two actors is outstanding. It's a great love story, comedy, a drama, and a really underrated sci-fi movie. It's on Hulu. When it came out, people were raving about it, and now it's kind of getting forgotten a little bit, but a lot of people's lists are going to have this in their top 5 and 3. For me, it's my 9th place. The only reason it went down a little bit Rewatchability. I rewatched it, and I think the first time I watched it was really good. Second time, I very much enjoyed the movie, just the rewatchability is not as strong. Number 8. Coming in number 8 is also a movie you gotta remember all the way back in February. A movie that did not make a ton of money, which to me, it should have made a lot more, but COVID probably ruined it a bunch, I would think. That movie is Birds of Prey. So a lot of you are going to be like, really? You are putting this movie on your list? Listen, it's my list, and I enjoyed this movie. I love Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn. She is the perfect Harley Quinn. This movie was fun, bloody, and hard R, and I loved seeing DC go into this universe of an R-rated, just fun movie. I love the cast. I love all the females in this movie. They're awesome, they're badass, and I hopefully would love to see a sequel, but recently they said they're not planning on one, which is disappointing, I think because of the box office. But like I said, this movie was so much fun to watch. It was fun to watch in a theater. I love the cast, I love the crew, I loved everything entertaining about this movie. It was a blast to watch. Number 7. In 7th place is my second favorite animated movie of the year. Number 7 will be Onward. This movie stars Tom Holland and Chris Pratt and was just a blast. I love the story of these two great brothers in this different original world with dragons and monsters and all these different types of characters. I love the universe they built in this movie. I love our two main leads, and this journey to get their dad back for one day just to talk to him was so emotional, funny, exciting, and I truly loved this ending. I loved this ending. I did not expect them to do it this way. They pulled it off. I love this ending. Ever since I saw the movie early on a 1 week early screener, it was fun to watch. I really enjoyed this movie, and it's definitely one of those movies that's kind of being forgotten a little bit, so give some Onward some love on Disney Plus if you have it. Number 6. In 6th place is the last movie review I reviewed this year, Promising Young Woman. This movie, Carey Mulligan, I am just, please, come on Academy, give her an Oscar nomination. I adored this movie. I adored the direction, the fresh, just prints of this movie, the colors, the music, which I didn't even get to talk about during my review, but like I said, Carey Mulligan is a scene stealer in this movie. This movie is a great entertainment watch movie, and I think it does prove a great message to women, to men. It just shows you we need to have conversations about certain topics, and this movie does that in an entertainment way. I loved it, and for me, I did like the ending. I know a lot of people don't, but for me, it worked in a darkly entertaining fashion way. But overall, if you have not seen this movie yet, it's in theaters right now. Go and see it in a safe environment if you can. Number 5. In 5th place, we have a movie that has 5 in it. Da 5 Blood. Spike Lee's new joint that was released on Netflix this previous summer is being underratedly forgotten. This movie needs to be nominated for Best Picture, Best Actor, and I would even give Chadwick a Best Supporting Actor nomination for this movie. This movie is gritty, dark, and fantastically made. Spike Lee uses different frameworks, old film, the aspect ratio, the making of this movie, and these 5 guys going back into the jungle to find this gold, which leads them to in some intense, dark scenes that I really was just invested in. This movie is a very touchy subject about Marines and going into war and then coming out and being a different person, losing friends, thinking about the past and having to live with that trauma. It's a fantastic movie. It is Spike Lee's maybe his best film. I could honestly argue this movie is just as good as many others he's made. It's a great movie on Netflix right now. Check it out. Number 4. It makes me so sad to not see this movie in a theater, but I did get to watch it 3 weeks ago on an early screener, and that is Soul. Soul is fantastic. A lot of people are going to make this the #1 movie of the year, and honestly, that is fine with me. This movie is fantastic, led by Jamie Foxx. Seeing his character go through this world of a soul getting back to Earth to go back into his body is a fantastic achievement in Pixar's great animation, the writing, the characters, the world building they make. Just like with Onward in this movie, they make fresh new worlds and characters that you're going to fall in love with. Adults can watch this movie. Kids can watch this movie. It's a movie that is the perfect We need this movie right now. It is so good. It's on Disney Plus right now. Go and watch it. You will love it, I promise. Number 3. I'm a little biased towards this movie because I am such a fan of courtroom movies. My number 3 is The Trial of the Chicago 7. This cast, if it doesn't win Best SAG All Cast Award, I don't know what will, because this movie has fantastic performances from everyone. I mean everyone. There's not one performer in this movie that is bad. I do believe Aaron Sorkin will win a Best Adapted Screenplay for this movie. The dialogue is a Hollywood movie on paper. The dialogue is explosive, energetic, hilarious, dramatic, and the editing, if this movie does not get nominated for Best Editing, that is a crime. It should win Best Editing. The editing is a Hollywood movie blockbuster. Like I said, the performances, I don't know who they're going to nominate, but someone's got to get nominated. My money bet would be Sacha Baron Cohen for Best Supporting Actor. He is amazing. But like I said, every single person's movie is great. It is on Netflix right now. It is an amazing, important movie with a great message, great acting, great writing. It's a movie film lovers should watch just to study the artwork of directing, editing, writing. Aaron Sorkin. Just keep directing and writing movies, please. Number 2. If you've watched my reviews all year long, I think a lot of you are going to probably say this wasn't your number 1. I love the directing, and I love the inspiration this movie brought to me, and it was one of, probably is actually, the best IMAX experience I saw all year. I know this might be some controversial, but it's my list. Number 2 is Tenet. I love Christopher Nolan, and I will say, besides Inception, I don't know how he directed this movie. This movie was directed originally different fashioned. I love the story of how different it was. I love the universe that we got to see. John David Washington, the protagonist, was very good in this movie. So was Robert Pattinson and everyone else in the cast. The movie is original. The action is thrilling, practical, and my God, on 4K with surround sound, it is perfect. I know some people had struggled with the surround sound sub-mixing of dialogue and music and action. I would say on 4K it sounds a lot better. For me, I had no trouble watching it in IMAX. I could hear everything. If you don't like this movie, I kind of get it, because I will say the characters aren't super strong. But for me, I was so inspired by Christopher Nolan's directing. I could not keep my eyes off the screen. And one little thing that really stuck to me, I saw it again in IMAX with a group of friends that aren't the biggest film lovers ever. They just like movies like a normal general audience. When we walked out, all 4 of them said, I really liked it. In that moment, I knew Tenet is going to be a classic one day. Number 1. It has led to this very moment. 2020 has sucked, but there's been that one movie that stuck with me. And here's a little story before I say the movie. On my channel, I used to do a most anticipated each month. It ended once theaters closed because I didn't really know what to anticipate for each month, because I know what the next month was going to bring me. In this certain month, I said my number 1 movie that I was not looking forward to was this movie. I had no hype for this movie. I walked out flabbergasted by the direction, performances, writing, a simple plot line turned into a great 2-hour length movie of intense filmmaking and great performances by one and only. My number 1 favorite movie of 2020 goes to The Invisible Man. I loved this movie. I really just love the directing by this movie. It is so inspiring, just like Tenet, to watch this movie with such an easy plotline of one person being invisible and the intensity, claustrophobic kind of feeling of a person watching you while they're invisible in a room that you might not even know they're in the same room. This movie is a great lead performance by Elizabeth Moss, who is underratedly should be nominated this year, honestly. For what this year has brought us, she was a performer performer in this movie. She is amazing. I love watching the behind the scenes of this movie. I love the plot line of The Invisible Man, of how it's kind of a 2020 freshman of the original Invisible Man movie. This movie was very good. It shocked the hell out of me. I had no hype on this movie, and it to be my #1 movie of the year. It has held up since I watched it in IMAX that one night. It stuck with me. The sound mixing, the score, the direction. I cannot wait to see what this director does next. It is my favorite movie of 2020. And with that being said, that is my top 10 favorite movies of 2020. If you disagree with me, that is fine, because honestly, 2020, there's a bunch of movies I didn't even see. There's a bunch of movies I did see. The ones I did see, these 10 were the ones that stuck with me the most. And I hope you guys have had a great year for what it's been worth. I know this year has sucked. I hope there's been some bright spots for you. And for me, I've really just improved on the camera, the quality, mics, and everything. So there's much more to come in 2021. I hope we can do a 20 next year, but we're looking at the things. I'm very excited for the next year for movies in general. Now, with that being said, if you want to stick around, I will be releasing my top 10 worst movies of the year coming up very soon. I love you guys, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye, everyone.